allowed us the use of this facility. That does not mean that they condone or oppose any of the information that you're going to be provided with tonight. I would like to also start by saying the commercial airport expansion is not a done deal. Despite what you may think or have been told, it is definitely not a done deal. And we want to provide you this evening, thank you. I'm Kirsten Liberty, by the way. Thank you, Kathy. I am Kirsten Liberty, and you're going to hear from a number of us this evening. I would like to remind all of you that this is a church. We do request that you be respectful of their property and of the people that are speaking. We do have an opportunity for people to ask questions at the end of this program. Okay? Let's see. I want any elected officials that we have this evening to stand. Do we have anybody with us that is an elected official? Could you please stand for us? We have Post 2 Commissioner Todd Panal with us this evening. Thank you, Mr. Panal. I would also, at this time, just as a side note, is there anybody here who is currently serving or has served in the U.S. military? Could you please stand? Thank you. Our goal this evening is to provide you with as much information as we can in a short period of time. We do have some handouts that we will be providing for you at the end of the program, and we also do have some yard signs that we can sell you at the end of this. If you're interested, please see us after the program. We'll give you some more information at the end. Okay, I would like to officially introduce Pastor Rick Dunn. Rick Dunn is the pastor at Bethany Christian Church who has allowed us to use their beautiful building. Rick, would you please come forward?
Thank you all very much. Again, we just want to reiterate the church's stand that we are making this open to the community. We are about the community here at Bethany. And had a call a few weeks ago from my good friend, Kirsten Liberty, and said, hey, we just need a place so we can meet to give some information out that needs to get out. And so we are definitely for that. And want you to know that we hope tonight that this meeting will help. As I've got to look at some of the stuff, I think it will definitely open up for some questions and answers and give some information to you. But I also want to say this, there's been a lot of being misinformed. And so I was a little misinformed too. Since it is in the church tonight, I think I get to take up an offering. Is that right? This definitely is not a church service, or we'd be taking up an offering. But anyway, thank you all for coming out and wanting to know about our community. This shows us, it means a lot to us because we are about the community, and it's good to see this turnout here tonight. And so I believe that a lot of your questions and answers will be made clear tonight, and that is our hope and my hope of us having this meeting. So if I can, let me just invite the Lord. Would you stand with me? And I'm so thankful that Jesus says that He is the way, the truth, and life. And I'm just pretty blunt. I want truth to come out. And I said that today earlier to the folks. I met the team today. It's the first time I've met them, except as I said, I've known Kirsten for years. Our prayer tonight is that we just get to the truth of what's best for our community, and so that's what we're going to pray for. Father, I thank you tonight for the opportunity just to come together. You tell us in your word that men should come together and reason together if there's differences or if there's issues, and that we should search out the truth. And God, I pray that the truth would be searched out and that we would find that truth, God. And we ask for your leading, God. You know, you knew that Paulding County would exist before it ever existed, and you had plans for this community. And God, we continue to ask that you keep your hand on our community, God, and that you would direct the steps of the leadership of this community for what is best for the people, Father God. I ask tonight that you would be with us in this form of your Holy Spirit, God, that we would conduct ourselves as a people of respect one towards another. And Father, most of all, that we'd be able to leave here tonight saying that it was good of the information we received, as well as it was good in the way in which the people conducted themselves, gave you honor. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Ladies.
Me again. Hi. I would like to now introduce to you Miss Sue Wilkins, who is a local citizen, a local concerned citizen. She's going to give you a little bit of information about who is doing the presentation this evening. Let's give her a hand.
Hello. Thank you for coming out. It's great to see such a great turnout. It means so much to us. If you don't mind, I'm going to read so that I don't miss anything. And again, I'm Sue Wilkins. I am a county resident and I live in Post 3. I'd like to tell you a little bit about Citizens for a Better Paulding County, the group who's sponsoring tonight's event. This group was born into existence as a result of the airport expansion and the lack of local government transparency. Our mission statement reads, a nonpartisan citizens group dedicated to preserving the integrity of Paulding County, Georgia, and our quality of life. Citizens for a Better Paulding County plans on being around for a long time to oversee and protect our residents' best interests. I'd also like to say we are all volunteers and no one gets paid. I'm sure many of you have heard about the lawsuits regarding the airport. We're limited in what we can say about them since they are before the courts, but I'd like to tell you what I can. The bond intervention case filed on October 28th was to intervene with the passing of the $3.6 million bond for taxiway expansion that, if approved, will be the legal responsibility of the county taxpayers. Judge Beavers granted our attorney a 2-week discovery period, and the public hearing will be held on Monday, December 2nd, 9 a.m. at the Watson Government Complex Courthouse in courtroom number 1. And we hope you can all make it. The second lawsuit was filed with the U.S. Courts of Appeals, District of Columbia Circuit Court last Monday, November 18th. Again, we can't say much about this case either, but I'd like to read a short statement from the filing. The ongoing construction at the airport is premised on inadequate, improper, and incomplete information, resulting in failure of the KTEX determinations to properly consider the potential environmental impacts associated with the conversion to commercial airport operations. Basically, that statement means the county/airport authority filed exclusion requests with the FAA that did not properly consider the environmental impacts associated with the conversion of the general aviation airport to commercial operations. The suit is requesting the FAA reviews said documentation and suspends approval until these matters are properly reviewed. That's all I can say at this time. Thank you. And on that note, I'd like to introduce our own Paulding County, Kathy Helms.
Thank you again, Sue. I know a lot of faces in here, and it's really nice to see people that I've known for many years and new faces, and I'd like to meet each and every one of you. I may not remember your name, but I'd sure like to have an opportunity to get to know you better. The information that we've accumulated for this presentation are from internet-based websites that have documentation and backup studies for all of the information. It's not just a website that we've pulled out of the air and said, oh, this sounds good. Every one of these have a study by somebody who has integrity and is an expert in the field that has backed these things that they've posted on the internet. So, and I'm not a French model either. All right. The citizens voted against this airport twice, in the 70s and in the 90s. A lot of people are saying that we voted against the funding of the airport. You ask those people. I voted against the airport. I didn't vote against the funding. I voted against the airport. I voted for the reservoir. We have an airport. We don't have a reservoir.
Amen.
All right? We were told that this would never cost the taxpayers a dime. The FAA was going to pay for it all. We've been supporting this airport with taxpayer dollars since before completion in 2008. There's a lot of information on the bonds. We've got somebody else who will talk to you about that a little bit later, but we're still working on getting all of that sorted out. It's going to take a forensic CPA, I think, to disseminate some of the information. It's there. But our quality of life is going to change. Our quiet neighborhoods will be congested and polluted, and property values will plummet. Property values near the airport have gone from $6,500 and $8,000 per acre to $2,000 an acre per Bob Ward's neighbor. This happened to a neighbor of a person in this room. The WMA and the 7,000-acre green space border the airport. Wildlife has been absent since the building boom, and it's just now recovering. Our wildlife and ecosystem will again suffer from this airport expansion. Gold Mine Lake and the wildlife management area will be severely impacted by water pollution, exhaust from the planes and vehicles. De-icing, what they use to de-ice the planes, is poison to wildlife and humans. And the erosion will affect the waterways, and there's even been talk of filling in Gold Mine Lake. In 2011, the Georgia Department of Transportation did a study that said there was no feasible site for a second airport. These were the same areas that were identified by the Georgia Department of Transportation in a study in 1991. The Paulding Northwest Atlanta Airport was deemed an unlikely possibility because of the proximity to the Atlanta flight path, and the runway design makes navigation difficult because of wind speed, weather, and physical attributes that could make it dangerous for any passengers and flight crews. Airports do have an adverse effect on health. They truly do. Studies, and these are studies, this is not just something that we've pulled out of the air, show that excessive noise affects blood pressure, digestion, and sleep. In 1997, 2 groups were studied, one that lived near an airport and one that did not. 2/3 of those living near the airport were bothered by the aircraft noise that interfered with daily activities, they had sleep difficulties, and they were also reported in poorer health. The European Commission considers living near an airport a risk factor for coronary disease and stroke because noise can increase blood pressure and can trigger these more serious health problems. Excuse me. I'm sorry, I've been battling the cold, trying to keep it at bay for about a week, so. The negative effects on children and their ability to learn and their health and development it's been studied over and over. It found that it raises blood pressure in children too. And a study in Germany found a link between a chronic noise created, it elevated the nervous system and activity in children living near an airport. Kids living near an airport lagged behind their classmates in reading for every 5 decibel increase above normal noise levels. The same study said aircraft noise lowered comprehension after social and economic differences were considered. We have a school within half a mile of the end of this runway. These kids are in a learning environment. And study after study has shown that it impacts their learning abilities. There are many citizen advocacy groups that spend hours on research and discovery about the adverse effects of airport noise. One of them is the U.S. Citizen Aviation Watch Association, abbreviated CAW. It's concerned cities and advocacy groups that cite all the pollutants linking damage to lungs, lung disease, lymphoma, myeloid leukemia, and depression. CAW is lobbying to scrap the modification of any airport expansion across the country. Code names. you know, my husband and I own our own business, and we have for 23 years. And we understand the integrity of keeping a business deal private. And that sometimes it's not good to give details. It's been over a year since this lease was signed with Silver Comet Terminal Partners. We didn't know about it until 7 weeks ago. We've come together and met most of these people I did not know until this airport. I've known Kirsten for years. We've worked together on scouting stuff. So she's taught us merit badge classes. But other than that, I didn't know any of the other people that are up here talking to you tonight. They signed this 20-year agreement with no input from any of us, none of us. It was all done in secrecy, behind closed doors. Yes, they voted in public, but all the discussion, everything that they did was done behind closed doors except for that vote. And they voted on Silver Comet deal. Silver Comet agreement is what it was called. I've seen the video. We have a concerned citizen that many of us can't make these airport authority meetings or the industrial building authority meetings because we work. We've got to feed our families. We can't be at the airport at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday morning. We can't be there at 11:30. We have families to feed. So, the videotape is available for anybody that wants to see it. It is in 2 segments. The first one is 40 minutes, then they go into closed session, they come out and vote on the Silver Comet agreement, and everybody then leaves that needs to, and they go right into the Industrial Building Authority meeting. Gwinnett County rejected this same deal, rating Propeller financial submission at 51%, which means that their claims and the things that they were saying were going to be of value to the community was rated by a group, and they said that it only got a 51%. 51 is failing. 51 out of 100. If my child brought home a 51%, they'd be in big trouble. So, I don't understand how this can be a good deal for Paulding when it wasn't such a good deal for Barrow or Gwinnett County. Post 2. The airport is in Post 2. I live in Post 2. I don't know how many of the others of you live in Post 2. We were completely left out because we didn't have any representation. Our Post 2 commissioner knew nothing about this either. They voted on things, but no details on the expansion were discussed. Fire equipment was purchased under the guise that all airports should have them. Our district chairman waved a piece of paper saying the post commissioner had been notified. An open records request did not reveal the airport expansion details, only an invitation to a luncheon for an announcement. The post commissioner was unable to attend due to short notice and scheduling conflicts. He had a family to feed. In a post-meeting interview, it was stated, was handled this way to deliberately withhold public opposition. Propeller. I don't know a whole lot about airports. I don't know a whole lot about investment companies. And I don't know a whole lot about Brett Smith. I don't even know who he is. If you do any internet search or, without having to pay money, there's not a whole lot of information out there. Propeller Investments is a venture capitalist firm, and it's a startup company that was established in 2010. There's been a claim to connection of 37 airports. Nothing to show that they've accomplished any project of the magnitude since their inception, and they're talking about taking over an airport. They have lots of airport connections, but have never actually run an airport. Brett Smith is, one of the is the managing director and the chief investment officer of Propeller Investments. What I did find about some about Brett Smith was when he tried to sell this deal to Gwinnett County for Briscoe Field, he worked on it a long time. He spent a lot of money. There was a lot of emotion and a lot of controversy regarding it. So when the deal fell through and it was voted against unanimously by the commissioners, he was a little upset. So these are some of the responses to comments that citizens made on a website called Peach Pundit. Again, everything that I've used, we're going to have a handout at the end with all of these websites so that you can go to them and see the same information that we've used to prepare this whole presentation. Silver Comet Terminal Partners is also relatively new. They're registered with the Secretary of State as a foreign corporation, which means that they did not file their corporation papers in the state of Georgia. They're actually incorporated in Delaware and have an Atlanta office. Their registration with the Secretary of State is dated 9/23/13, 10 months after the Silver Comet Agreement was signed by the Airport Authority. And I haven't been able to find a website at all for Silver Terminal Partners. Silver Comet Terminal Partners. This was actually very, very interesting to me, this study, because we're seeing it more and more and more that public-private partnerships, where our governments are working with private enterprise to try to develop things that belong to the taxpayers. There's some scary things that Good Jobs First, who is a nonprofit, nonpartisan research center that was founded in 1998 in Washington, D.C. They compared public-private partnerships, PPPs they call them, in 9 states and wanted to provide a roadmap for other states to use. Their cautionary conclusion on this study that they did, just completed in October of 2013, says, based on the persistent pattern of abuses, the report concludes that privatization of economic development agency functions is an inherently corrupting action that states should avoid or repeal. With the economic war among the states already dominated by corporate interests and bargaining dynamics made worse by long-term drop in job creation deals, taxpayers are best served by experienced public agency employees who are fully covered by ethics and conflict laws, open records acts, and oversight by auditors and legislators. When we turn this airport over to a private company, they are not subject to any open records laws at all. If they are losing money, they can pick up their toys and go home, and the taxpayers are left holding the bag. Potential airline partners that we've heard, we don't know. We really don't know. We don't have any information. We don't have enough information. We've heard Allegiant Air. Allegiant, Spirit, Frontier, JetBlue, they are all discount airlines that operate out of small airports. Allegiant itself has 500 complaints with the Better Business Bureau. But they have an A+ rating. How? The Better Business Bureau rates you on how many of those complaints you respond to, not whether you reach resolution, just that they've responded to those complaints. So that's how they get an A+ rating. There was one woman that had booked a flight on Allegiant to go to Hawaii for a wedding. She got a call 5 days before the flight that they were postponing the flight for 5 days. It was a little impossible for her to make the wedding on Allegiant's schedule. So she had to spend another $800 to book another flight and lost the money because of Allegiant. They didn't cancel the flight, they only postponed it, and because of their policy. So she lost the money that she paid to Allegiant, plus paid another $800. Allegiant pulled up stakes and abandoned airport in Freeland, Michigan, costing taxpayers $175,000. In 2006, they did the same thing in Worcester, Massachusetts, and left the taxpayer holding $2.3 million deficit. This is Allegiant, but this is about, the Allegiant is not the only airline that's capable of doing this. We no longer have a say when we are handing over a $50 million public asset to a private company. Complaints filed for delays, cancellations, and additional fees from all of these airports. And the only reason a flight can be canceled is because of mechanical problems. So they have lots of mechanical problems. I think some were left on the tarmac for what, 11 hours a couple of weeks ago? There was a group of people. So, housing values. We've already talked about the board's neighbors who have lost a tremendous amount of value on their property. People want us to believe, Peller wants us to believe, some of our elected officials want us to believe that our housing values are going to go up because we're going to be by an airport. Those homes actually appraise 20% below the market value of comparable homes that are not located near an airport. Now, a house in Massachusetts that's 3,000 square feet and sits close to an airport is going to appraise for a lot more than a house in Georgia that's 3,000 square feet. Because the property values in Georgia are just different. So, you know, and I heard somebody say at the meeting earlier this week that you can find anything you want on the internet. And you can. You can find anything that supports what you want to say. But you've got to have studies and you've got to have documentation that back that up to make it so that people believe it, to make it credible. So, and I keep saying, everything that here is done with studies and studies and studies and has backup documentation. Has anybody ever heard of Randall Bell? Randall Bell is a appraiser that goes to sites where disasters have happened. And his job is to put a value on property that's been destroyed. Once a hurricane or a tornado, he was at Katrina, he was in New Jersey. That's what he does for a living. And that's how they say there was $10 million worth of damage done. That's his job. And here's what he has to say about real estate valuation. Real estate valuations and diminution in value studies are meaningful only if based upon market data. From the perspective of a real estate analyst, making value judgments or reaching conclusions without market data support is irresponsible at best. While this is only the simplest of studies, I hope that this report will serve as a beginning point for all parties to focus on meaningful market data as a basis for their findings. And the next thing we hear about the airport, jobs. Lots of jobs for people in Paulding County. Lots and lots of jobs. In one of those quotes from Brett Smith, he said that he never made a claim about Briscoe Field for a number of jobs. He said he never said X number of jobs. He said up to 20,000 jobs. And his quote says, let me go back there. You don't have to move this slide. Said that no one can say precisely X amount of jobs would be created. Those were his words. He said that himself. When somebody challenged those 20,000 jobs. Nobody, not even Brett Smith, can guarantee X amount of jobs. Manufacturing facilities that might be interested in the airport. Anybody heard anything about them? I haven't heard a word from anybody. Not heard a word.
I heard
All right.
one time somebody said that the airport was going to build them a building and let them stay there for 5 years free.
No, I've not heard that. I've not heard that. What I heard, and I believe that there is a copy of the original lease agreement floating somewhere that is available, we've gotten it through open records request, is that they have 5 years to make or break this deal. If at the end of 5 years, they've not reached the milestone set, then the deal isn't no good.
There's no milestones in the contract.
Exactly, thank you.
And it's $700 a month they're paying for the second floor of the building.
Right, and that's the way that I understand. You know, and I said, we're getting this information from other people. We don't know, nobody's told us. We're guessing.
Excuse me, the contracts are available.
Okay. All right, if it becomes a commercial airport, it'll be TSA secured, and workers will have to pass a federal background check. Do they know that? People, do they understand? Have they been told that? You can't just walk into an airport anymore since 9/11 and get a job. You have to pass the background check. This, next slide, is, I find this rather interesting. Our own webmaster back there, our designer for these slides, helped do this overlay. And it kind of shows in red where those flights are going to be going, where they're going to be taking off and landing. If you notice the area, the circle around it, if there were a problem and they couldn't land, that's the area they would be circling. Okay, so you see that, you know, it's West Paulding, over by Buchanan Highway, but everybody in Paulding County is going to be impacted by this. Just because you don't live by the airport doesn't mean you're not going to be impacted. It's your money. It's taxpayer money. It's dollars. And while we don't like the noise and we're worried about the pollution and what it's going to do to our quality of life, it's going to hurt every one of our pocketbooks. Every single one of us. All right, we've already seen over the last 20 years, more people come, but our taxes keep going up and up and up because we have to have more infrastructure. We have to have more schools. At the November meeting, our tax commissioners approved the 911 center and the emergency operations center and a new firehouse. At that meeting, our fire chief said that firehouse would service 1,400 homes. That's a lot of houses. We keep hearing there's not that many people that are going to be affected. 1,400 houses is a lot of houses, and those are only the houses within a 5-mile area on the 278 side. It's not the radius. The back side is even more. But that firehouse won't be able to access those houses on Buchanan Highway. And I'm just going to touch on this a little bit, and I'm going to get Anthony Avery up here and let him talk about this a little bit more. But as of June 30th, 2012, the bond debt was $75,607,000. That's what we've been able to find. It could be more. It's certainly not less. And I'm going to let Anthony expand a little bit more on that and explain how the tax debt works.
Good evening. First of all, let me start by the airport budget that is actually submitted from the airport department to the county for approval for the airport department budget. $173,800 is going for salaries for 2 employees at the airport. 2012, it was in 2012 it was $169,700. In 2012, the operating expense was $98,900. 2013 or the 2014 budget now is $98,900. Grand total $272,700 that is coming from the county budget, which is taxpayer dollars. Also, in the budget, under non-departmental budget, we are paying the IBA, which is Industrial Building Authority, the Airport Authority. Our county has given total control over to these two authorities. We give the IBA $552,000 out of the county budget. The county has no authority to tell these authorities how to spend the money. Out of that $552,000, $25,000 of that goes to the airport authority budget. They spend $41,000 a year on the airport authority budget. If it wasn't for the $25,000 going back from the IBA, there'd be over $19,000 over budget. As Kathy has stated, as of June 30th, 2012, and I'm going to be throwing a lot of numbers, but we're going to have handouts, so I'm going to make it very brief. The bond issue, right, the bond debt, as of June 30th, 2012, is $76,840 in general obligation bonds. Okay, or 75. I'm sorry. With all total, it's 76,840. I'll get these numbers out in a minute. Now that's just the bond debt for Paulding County as of June 30th, 2012. There has been some reissues of bonds. 2013, the IBA done a refund on the 2003 bonds in 2004. On 2014, this year, we've done a $4,590,000 bond on for the roads and everything. Okay. From 2013, from this year, to the year 2032, our bond debt that we will pay, as it stands right now, just in June 30th, 2012, bond debt, interest, the whole total is $117,308,933. That's with bond debt and interest. Okay? This is on the website. You can actually go to paulding.gov, go to the finance department, and you can actually pull this up. And these are actual numbers coming from Paulding County. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what we're getting to look for. Okay, there is some handouts that we are going to have on the back table. They are the movie studio bond debt expenses, the expenditures so far, the water tank, and the hangar expenses are back there also. So,
Has the movie studio made any money?
according to the financial that I got from June the 1st, 2013 to November the 4th, 2013, the movie studio has lost over $123,000.
How about the airport? They made any money?
No comment. I want to call your attention. Do anybody knows what these are? They are my personal property taxes for this year. This is where it hits home to us, folks. Anybody that has a property that they have to register with the county in order to get appraisal, whether it be home, RV, anything like that. I have a boat. So I have to register that, and they give me a property tax bill on it. On my house this year, if you look in the middle here, and I know y'all can't see, but if you look in the middle of the page, it says tax entity. It will show what department it goes to and how much you're actually paying. Okay, on the county bond, which is your bond debt, it's 2.220 millage rate, tax rate. I paid $71.22 off of my home property taxes this year for the bond debt in Paulding County. I paid on my boat $7.40 to the bond debt of Paulding County this year. There was a statement made last week in open court by the attorneys of Propeller Investments. The statement was made, Your Honor, if this deal falls through and it all goes south, it will only add 1.3% mill rate to the citizens of Paulding County, and that's no significant amount to the citizens. Okay, here's what I want to leave you with, okay? This page here, the bond resolution that they just passed last month, okay, for this $3.6 million. Here's where it hits home. On page 10 of the intergovernmental contract, paragraph A, section 4.4, paragraph A, okay, the county shall levy an ad valorem tax on all taxable property located within the limits of the county, subject to taxation for such purposes. Do what now?
Maybe Todd can tell us, he voted for it.
Well,
Tell us what that means.
oh,
You voted
Talking
for
about,
it.
we're talking about the 3 point for the airport?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I did not vote for it.
That's right.
Okay, but I was the only one.
So you did that, the airport authority,
No.
are you involved in that?
No.
oh,
Okay.
Hang on just 1 second. I want to make sure.
If y'all would just hang on to those questions for us for just a second. Hold on to them, bank them in your head. Mr. Parnell is going to be kind enough to answer questions. If we can just get through the last little bit of this, that would be great. Anthony, can you simplify that for them just real quick? Is that okay? Just hang on.
I'll take a few short minutes and try to simplify it. Okay. All right, when you go to do a finance, or if you have a family member that calls you up and says, will you be a co-signer with me? And they say, okay, or the finance company says, okay, we have to do a financial statement or a background check or a credit report on them also. That's basically what's happening here. We are actually co-signers to all this bond debt. We are not using our income per se to finance it, but what we are financing it with is our houses. And I will read this again, and very slowly. It says, the county shall levy. What that means is they put a lien against each and every one of our houses for each one of these bond debts that they approve, every one that they do. Every bond resolution has this clause in it. So every bond that they approve in this county, they add a lien against our houses for being a taxpayer and having property within the county. The county shall levy an ad valorem tax on all taxable property located within the limits of the county, subject to taxation, that's taxes, for such purposes. And that such purposes is simply to provide the financial backing for this bond debt if Propeller or if the movie studio, whoever promises to pay these debts, if they fall through, guess who picks up the tab?
we do.
The taxpayers. This is done through the Superior Court in Paulding County. It's taken from the state and passed on to the county, and that's the reason why we had to go to court in order to stop the bond validations. Folks, the buck stops right here with you and I, because we are co-signers to every bit of the debt that they pass down from our commissioners. Every bit of it. The $5 million bond that was forced down our throats with the movie studio, what was their promise? Oh, the movie studio is going to pay for itself. It has still yet to do so. And so, folks, the bond debt is a out of sight, out of mind way in order for them to get things done without having to notify the people, basically. And so, folks, like I said, the buck stops here. When it all goes south, I don't care what they say. Even the bond attorney in the airport authority, last meeting that they agreed on this airport authority, on the bond resolution, the airport authority, the bond attorney stood up and he was asked, who is ultimately responsible for this debt? He said, oh, the citizens of Paulding County will be responsible. They're ultimately responsible. Again, folks, the buck stops here. Let me say one other thing. I do have a lot of documentation, some financials. They're very scattered. They're very, but I'll be glad to share with you what I know. I will see you if you want to see me afterwards. I'm the guy that's behind the scenes, but every Friday afternoon I like to have my calling cards given out. So I usually go around Friday afternoons about 3:30, giving out my calling cards to the IDA, to the Airport Authority, and to the county. And so instead of them going home on a happy note, they get a phone call saying that Mr. Avery's been here again. So I'll talk with you and I'll share anything I possibly can with you. And thank you for coming.
Thank you, Anthony and Kathy, for a great presentation. Oh, I have to flip this?
Well,
There we go.
We realize it's a whole lot of information to take in all at once, but we hope it gives you a better idea of some of the facts surrounding the airport expansion and the controversy. There are a few more points I'd like to recap. Number one, it is not a done deal. Although many residents have heard that it is not. Regardless of what our commissioners and airport personnel try to make us believe, it is not an approved project until the FAA determines it is, and they have not yet done so. Since the FAA has not made their decision yet, we as residents have the opportunity to let them know we oppose the proposed commercialization of our county airport. The FAA is very interested in how the citizens feel regarding local airports, since they are the ones who have to deal with the fallout from the community. So we must let our voices be heard. I can't stress enough the value and the importance of making a fuss, making a stink about this. The greasy or the squeaky wheel really does get greased. I urge you to contact everybody in the state, from the top on down. Most importantly, the FAA. We'll supply an email contact for them that you can just shoot them a little email letting them know how you feel. And they also have a hotline number that you can call and express those feelings as well. So please, if there's one email you're going to write or phone call you're going to make, have it be to the FAA, okay? Thank you. Another important point is we, the citizens for a better Paulding County, do not oppose economic development. We oppose a commercial airport being in our county and town. We believe in progress and we believe in jobs. But we also believe in our quality of life and our right as American citizens to protect that. We want you to be clear about that, since we have been accused by some of resisting change, when in reality what we resist is not having a say in our future, a future that we should determine, not politicians who disrespect us, deceive us, and recklessly spend our tax dollars. My final point is we do not have to be victims. Let the Gwinnett residents who came together and fought the commercialization of their local county airport be an inspiration to us all. They won their battle against Brett Smith and Propeller Investments by making their opposition known, and we can do the same. We really, really can. This is the very reason the airport deal was kept secret for so long. As Brett Smith said himself, loose lips sink ships. So let's come together and be proactive by turning worries and fears into productive measures that will result in preserving the integrity of Paulding County. Thank you.
Okay, so, did y'all like that presentation? Yeah? Does that help? All right. We do want to be respectful of the church and their time, but we also want to give you guys a chance to ask a question if you have one. What we're going to do is we are going to, in the back of the room, there is a jar of pens and there are note cards. If you have a question that you would like to ask, we are going to give you 5 minutes to ask those questions, to write them down, and we will let whoever is appropriate answer. I'm really thankful that Mr. Ponal is here. It's a big deal.
Let them know they don't have to be on the agenda.
Oh, yeah, we're not going to require you to get on the agenda 5 days in advance in order to talk to us. That's all right. You can do that. Yes, sir.
Is it appropriate for county people to be talking since we're involved in a lawsuit?
It is appropriate, and the reason it is appropriate is that this county person in particular is not involved in any kind of lawsuit.
But he's part of the county commission.
He is.
Want to take part of this whole thing?
Todd?
I can answer that.
Hold on. I'll let Ms. Wilkins.
Yes, technically, I am suing that man.
Well, I thought it's part of the commission, right?
Correct. However, that does not mean that we're unable to be in the same room. This is between the individuals who are on the lawsuits. No one else. There are really no limitations. You know, I mean, publicly, you know, Todd has not invited me over to his house for dinner or anything like that. We're here today in the same room. And really, it's no different than if we show up at a BOC meeting. We're entitled to do that, okay? And I'm entitled to speak there as well, as the others are. We just don't discuss the case, okay? So it's totally fine. Thank you.
Did that answer that question? Okay, so what we're going to do is take just a second. Miss Mary over there is passing out pens and cards. If you'd like one, just put your hand up. We'll get it to you really quickly. If you'll write down a question, we're going to give you 5 minutes and to just kind of let all this sink in, and then we'll come back and we will ask questions. Is that okay? Yes? Great?
Okay.
Okay, fabulous. Thank you.
Yes.
One quick question. No. I mean, that's one that you're emphasizing. It is mean, that's when you emphasize the word contact. Because all of these other idiots are, these other incompetents are
Anybody else have questions?
I
do my best.
gotta go pick Mom up at the airport. She keeps staying out of trouble.
Oh, I
keeps me out of trouble.
I know better than
It was an
that.
oversight on the handout with all the email addresses that we have. We missed putting the FAAs on there. However, if you go to our website or our Facebook page, you can find it. If you have trouble finding it there, there's an email address. You can email us and we will shoot it right back to you. But I will also make sure that on both of those pages,
Krista.
I'll make sure on both of the pages, the website, the Facebook page, tonight, I will repost their addresses, okay? Or at least the FAA and their 800 number for the hotline. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Good evening, y'all. I'll just take just a couple minutes of your time here. I appreciate the group that put this together doing that. You know, you can sit around and not do anything as citizens and just let things happen, or you can stand up and decide you're going to do something. And so I appreciate this group. I appreciate y'all coming out to get a little bit more information. I will start off just real quick by saying this. This is not a done deal, okay? It's not a done deal. The FAA has to approve this, and it has not been approved,
But it would be a done deal if it was left to the county.
okay?
I'm saying if it was,
If
it
it-
is a done deal.
Right. Let me say just a couple things, because I'm going to answer a couple of your questions. If it was up to the county, I guess it would be a done deal. It would not get my vote, okay? Want to give you just a little bit of information. I did not vote on the bonds a couple of weeks ago that was $3.6 million for the airport expansion. I did not do that. I was the only one. I also, just for your information, did not vote on the film studio bonds that were done in March of 2011. I would like to tell you this, it's been a long 7 weeks, because tonight at about 11:10 is when 7 weeks ago that's how I found out on the news. Some people say, well, that's kind of hard to believe that you didn't know. But I didn't know. And if anybody would like to discuss that with me, you're more than welcome to do it. I give you my word, I didn't know. There's been open records requests done by emails that were held up by the chairman that said that I had been sent an email. And I would like to clarify one thing that was said earlier. The invitation that was sent to me that week for a luncheon was sent to me for the luncheon on Friday, which is tomorrow, 7 weeks ago. It was announced on Thursday night on the 11 o'clock news. It was said in the meeting that there were emails, people did open records. There were not any emails. The AJC did open records, I believe, okay? The Paulding neighbor did open records. I think there was a few citizens that I know did open records, and I've heard of a few citizens that I didn't know do open records. But I did not know anything about this airport deal. I would not, and I do not support it. I support jobs in this community. I support bringing industry and doing things, just like you've heard it said in the paper, quoted by me, and on the news, as long as it's good for our community. That's what I support. Do I support the commercialization of the airport? Absolutely, 100% do not support it. I won't support it. Okay? It was said in the meeting, in our commissioners meeting, basically by the chairman, that they didn't tell me because they didn't trust me. So if you don't trust me because I'm too open and too honest and too transparent to the people of Paulding County, I'm okay with that. Because I ran on a platform of open, honest, and transparent government. And that's what I think we should do. That's what I think y'all want. That's what I think everybody deserves. The problem I have is all the commissioners ran on that. All right? So I do not support it. I will not support it. And again, it is not a done deal. I don't think the commercialization of that airport is what needs to be done. I don't think it's good for our community. I stand on two issues, though, as a commissioner in this district, District 2, Post 2 that I represent. Number one, I'm standing on the ground that I do not agree with the way this was done. Whatsoever, I do not agree with the way this was done. Now, we can get into all kind of issues, but my number one thing that I stand on this foot with is I do not agree with the way this was done. Second thing, there are people out there that support the commercial side of it, okay? Most of them, I don't think, have thought about it enough, maybe don't have enough information, don't live in our district, maybe they live on the other side of the county, whatever it is. But this is the second reason that I do not support commercial. The second reason. That airport was built by federal dollars and some state dollars and some local dollars, and continues to be supported by local dollars. That airport was built as a general aviation airport with federal money and state money and local money. The citizens were promised and told it's not going to be commercial. We promise it's not going to be commercial.
Amen.
The citizens were told general aviation only. Nothing's going to be any bigger than a minivan with wings. SUV with wings. Now, so I can stand on those issues. I'm on the board with 5 commissioners. There's 5 of us. And I can stand on that. I'm open, honest, and transparent. I don't agree with the way it was done. And you citizens, all of you, were promised no commercial. And so those are the 2 grounds I stand on.
So y'all have some doozy of questions here, I can tell you right now. I want to start with an easy one. Did I miss anybody's, did we miss anybody's question, by the way? Miss Mary, right back there. Oh, there's a couple. Thank you. The first question I want to answer is, can you sign the petition anywhere else but on Facebook? Yes. There's the good news. I do believe we have copies here.
There was another piece of paper with it. The signature pages are still there, but the top part of it kind of went somewhere else.
Okay,
But
we do.
The petition is here.
The petition is here, and where is it located?
On the back corner next to the basket, right there.
Okay, there we go. There is a clipboard, and somebody has other papers on there, but there is a petition. Before you leave here tonight, we could really use your signature. Petitions speak volumes.
Also on our website page as well.
Yeah, if you go to the website, which is there, it's also listed on the flyers back there, so you don't have to remember it, but it is back there. The petition is there as well, and we do need lots of signatures on the petition. All right, I'm going to skip, and I'll come back to what actions do we as individuals take. There are lots of things that you can do, and I'm going to come back to that one here in just a minute. All right, Mr. Parnell, this one's for you. Do you want to answer that? The question is, how often does the commission board leave Todd Parnell out of these meetings?
To begin with, I'll answer that question. We're not allowed to meet 3 commissioners. There's 5, so a quorum, enough to be there to vote, is 3. We're not allowed to ever meet in 3 or more, unless it is posted on the website, posted on the doors. It's got to be posted ahead of time and the public knows. That question of how often, I really can't tell you. The commissioners didn't have to have a meeting on this because the airport authority did this. The issue was that you have your elected officials. You have the Dallas mayor, the Hiram mayor, you have the Board of Commissioners chairman on the airport authority and the IBA. So they're the ones, the airport authority is the ones that did it. It just so happens that when it was all said and done, 4 of the 5 commissioners knew about what they were doing. In other words, they were brought in, some of them were brought in meetings, or some of them were brought in and went and checked out to different airports or whatever it is they did. But 4 of them knew, and I'm the only one that didn't know. So I'm not up here to say that they had any kind of a meeting, the 4 of them. That's not what I'm saying at all, and that's the question. So I have, how often am I left out? As far as a commissioner meeting, I don't think I'm left out of commissioner meetings, but this wasn't done in a commissioner's meeting, if that makes sense. Did I answer that? Okay.
Okay. All right, we have another question here. How many positions paid by the county does Blake Swafford hold? I don't know. Nobody knows.
3.
What we think. I don't know that we know the final answer.
He has two positions. He's director over the airport, and then he's also paid by the IBA. So one check comes from the IBA, but you got to remember the IBA is funded by the county. So it starts here, goes to the IBA, and then they pay Blake, and then as the airport director, we pay Blake.
How much?
So that I don't have that figure right here in front of me.
Is that not a conflict of interest?
Just back out Judy's salary.
Hold on just a minute. What is it? I'm sorry?
The budget was $173,000.
Yeah.
Give you the right number.
And Judy probably makes 40.
$174,300 for, I think, 2 people for personnel services.
I know.
So that's the budget.
That's just for the airport.
There's the salary.
Right, that's just the airport.
So $173,800 for 2 employees.
Right, it's part-time secretary.
Right, Miss Walton, that's correct. Yes.
That's the airport budget. There's also a salary that he gets from the IBA. Okay, so we'll move on because I don't have those exact figures. I want to make sure y'all get the information you need. But he does get a salary from the IBA.
Is that not a conflict of interest?
A lot of people could look at it that way. I don't.
Seemed like a good job if you can get it.
Yeah. Okay. And there's a couple questions up here that if I don't answer, I want anybody to feel free to come up and ask me afterwards. And if we need to get out of church, I don't mind standing in the cold, and I also don't mind going over to Merle's barbecue. I'm just saying. And what I mean is, there's a couple of questions that it's not that I'm afraid to answer, but it wouldn't be the most respectful thing for me to answer it here. And I think if y'all have seen me in action, I try to make sure that I do the right thing and don't overstep things, if that makes sense.
Okay, all right. If the county does not benefit from the airport expansion, then who was the intended beneficiary when the decision was made concerning the airport expansion?
Kind of a loaded question.
And you don't have to answer.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think they planned on the county benefiting from the airport. Do what? That's a good political answer. I know these 2 jackwagons on the front row here giving me a hard time. I appreciate y'all being here. I think most things are done with thinking that things are going to benefit the county. I just don't know that we always, as elected officials, I don't know that everybody always looks and sees what are we doing to benefit the people. And I don't mean a financial benefit. I mean, just like I said before, I'm for jobs and for bringing businesses in and everything else, as long as it's good for our community. And that's today, tomorrow, and in the future for our kids. So if I haven't answered that, whoever asked that, feel free to, we'll do some more. Have the BOC broken any laws, the Board of Commissioners broken any laws on the deal with Propeller Investments? Have they broken any laws? I don't think the BOC has broken any laws, the Board of Commissioners. Like I said, that was done by the Airport Authority, okay? And that's what that deal was done. It was very, it was not in the open like they say it was, and it should have been in the open. And what I mean in the open is discussing what it is in the open in those meetings. And that didn't happen, and we know that because we've got a citizen that does a lot of filming in those. They voted on the issue, but they really didn't discuss what the issue was. Am I making that? Am I doing okay with that, Mr.? I'm pointing at one of my friends in the middle there. Am I doing okay by saying that? Mr. Hyden? Does that make sense? I think they could have been more, they should have been more open.
Who appointed the airport authority?
Basically, the airport authorities, it's got some seats on it that are there, which is the mayor of Hiram, the mayor of Dallas, whoever that is, chairman of the Board of Commissioners, and the president of the chamber. And those seats are there, and then the other seats are fulfilled mostly by the chairman of the Board of Commissioners. He appoints. Okay? Hang on just a second. Do what?
If they had broken law, the airport authority, they have the same attorneys, the firm,
Right.
as the Board of Commissioners. Wouldn't you think that Tom Cable, who represents the airport authority, would have talked to Jason Phillips and said, you know, this is not, we cannot do $3.3 million in bonds for a private entity.
Right. Right. Well, and like I said, I don't think that any of the Board of Commissioners have broken the law. At the meeting, well, the airport authority is the one that did this, even though the Board of Commissioners knew what they were doing, except for myself. The airport authority is the one that did it. And some of the meetings that they had were not out in the open and as open as they should have been and posted in time and that kind of thing, if that makes sense. And I'll be glad to answer any more of that.
All of that doing are totally unethical in your world and my world.
I understand.
In their world, business as usual.
I understand. I understand. Do what? The airport authority, how did the airport authority get the power to do as they please without an input from the citizens of Paulding County? And basically,
Can you say Glenn Richardson?
basically that was done years ago with some other elected officials that kind of put that together and gave them the authority to do that. I don't agree with that because everything that they do, we still have to back as a county, meaning we have to vote to approve it or not approve it, and then you guys have to back it if we're doing bonds. If that
Got
makes
all sitting on both boards, chairman of the commission,
I
running the
did.
building authority, plus his
Right.
brother,
Yes, sir.
excuse me, plus his brother.
How can we get the authority back away?
Hang on just a second.
The wall.
Okay, hang on just a minute.
I do know this.
Miss Helms is going to come up and answer a question. Give Mr. Parnell just a second here. You want to come up and answer? We had a question I had to confer because I didn't begin to know the answer to. So, Miss Helms.
Okay. We have an audience member here that probably could answer this better than I. Does the new business Interro have anything to do with the expansion as they are also involved in manufacturing for aviation parts. Interroll does not manufacture aviation parts. Am I right?
You're correct. They manufacture the rollers and the drives for the
For all industry, not just the airline
Right,
industry.
for conveyance.
It's like a roller thing
Conveyance.
that moves things down the line. Interroll has been purported that they moved here because of the airport in Paulding County. It's my understanding that the airport was not the main attraction for Interroll. The commissioners and the people that were involved in bringing Interroll here were very kind to them and have done wonderful things with them. But it has absolutely nothing to do with the airport. Their customers and their people are more than happy making a 45-minute ride to Hartsfield Airport. So they don't own private planes. Interroll does not have a jet, a corporate jet. They don't own them. That's not how they do business. So, no, Interroll has nothing.
Okay, I think that out of respect for the church, we do have a couple of other questions. Some of them were repeat questions, and we understand that. I want to, the very good question, what can you as citizens do next? We need you guys to contact all of your local, state, and federal officials daily, often. Let them get to know you by first name. Honestly. Our senators have gotten tired of calling me back. Truly. I got a call from Washington, D.C. the other night, and they're really tired of hearing from me. I don't care. Continue to contact them in every way possible. The other thing you can do is attend these meetings. Definitely attend these meetings. We have We have a commissioners meeting on December 10th at 10 a.m. and that is the work session. At 2 p.m. is the actual Board of Commissioners meeting. We have on December 18th, we have an Airport Authority meeting. Those are fun at 9 a.m. 10 a.m. is the, Patty, behave back there. 10 a.m. is the Industrial Building Authority, equally as fun, but very important. The other thing that we have, December 2nd, hang on, December 2nd, listen, December 2nd, write this date down. This is the court hearing for the bond intervention case. It does matter that we show up for that. Yes, ma'am. You can only get so many people in that courtroom, and wouldn't it be a shame if we took up all the room? It is at 9 a.m., bright and early, happy, shiny faces in courtroom number 1. You can't miss it. When you walk in, they're going to know you're a citizen probably wanting to hear the court case, so they'll direct you. They should.
What time are doors open?
Doors open. I was there last time around 8:30. 8:30. Dress appropriately. No flip-flops, no shorts, no cutoffs, no grubby clothes. They are particular. No t-shirts with writing. That's correct. You do need to dress in a semi-professional manner. They do require that. There are actually signs outside the courtroom, so it's not just a rule that we make up. Mr. Avery was just going to take one quick answer, a stab at one of these questions that are a technical question, and then I tell you what. After that, and Mr. Parnell, we're going to wrap this up. I do want to let you know, we do have signs for your yard that you can stick in the ground. It takes a second and a half. That make a big impact when people are driving around. They are a $10 donation. We will be selling them outside of the church after this, outside the doors of the church. Yes? And they are a $10 donation. If you are interested, get them. I will pre-warn you, they do need to be on your property. They can't be out by the edge of a major road especially. Okay? That becomes the right-of-way of the county and they have the right to take those.
So not the Bob or me.
Not on easements. I'm sorry?
Bob or me for those signs.
Right here is Mr. Bob Ward. and Miss Mary Board. They will have the signs outside the doors if you're interested. Let me have Mr. Avery answer a question, Mr. Ponnell say a statement, and then Mr. Dunn, Pastor Dunn, I think wanted to come back up, except I've lost him.
Kristen, I have to answer.
And Miss Sue has also got a question to answer. So,
All right, just a quick question. I'm kind of group this together to make it quick. One, it says, did you know that Propeller is just leasing? Somewhere I heard the lease is 700 square foot at $1 per square foot equals $700. That part is correct. The lease agreement is actually between the IBA and Silver Comet Terminal Partners. Propeller Investments is nowhere on any documentations that I have right now. I have put in an open records request asking for contracts, lease agreements with Propeller Investments, and they say they do not exist. The only lease agreement that we have right now for the terminal building that is not the contracts for the airport expansion. Okay, that's two separate things. The lease says that they are to lease it for $1 per square foot, and they're talking about leasing 700 square foot of the terminal building. Okay. In the lease agreement, the county pays all utilities until Silver Comet Terminal Partners LLC becomes 50% when they get more than 50% of the terminal building, then they begin to take over the utilities and pay for that. The construction at the airport right now, the right side when you go in, on the right-hand side before you get to the terminal building, the right-hand side, that's going to be, what I understand, the fire station.
That's that. Yeah.
The fire station, E911 and EOC. So you're going to see a lot of construction. Most of it has to do with the fire station. Some of it has to do with the expansion. We don't know how much yet. So that answers these two questions.
I'm going to take just a minute and a half here, and then I'll be out there in the lobby and outside when you guys leave. A couple things, if you've got any pens and you would like to write down my phone number and email, I'll give that to you in just a second if you want to get that ready. I want you to know that I'm being sincere from the heart. It's been 7 weeks tonight. I have not slept well. It's been tough. It's been hard, and it's hard on a person to stand up alone. Y'all know what I'm saying. I got a lot of good friends that I look out here and I see, and I appreciate your prayers. I got some great neighbors. If you want to make a difference in your community, you've got to stand up and do something about it. That's what you've got to do. You got to talk to somebody. You got to take the time and say, I know that life gets in the way, but you got to take the time to say, hey, I'm going to be at that hearing, or I'm going to be at that meeting, or I'm going to check this out, or I'm going to make some phone calls, whatever it is you need to do. I would ask you, I just looked over there and seen another good praying friend of mine and his wife. I'm going to ask for your prayers, okay? But I'm going to ask for you to stand up and get involved and do what you feel like you need to do if you don't want this in your community. As long as that's what you don't want, I'm okay standing up with you. And I stand on those two issues. And that is, I don't like the way it was done, and the citizens of Paulding County were promised general aviation and no commercial. My wife and I were in the kitchen Monday night, and she said, I'm sick. And I said, what do you mean you're sick? We both work full time. We foster parents. And then I'm a county commissioner, and we stay pretty active in the community. And she said, I'm just sick about the airport issue. I'm sick about what they've done. They're not looking out for our citizens. 7 weeks ago when the news came on, I was sick. And I told her, I said, I've got to make a decision here. And I said, the decision's tough. And I'm asking for what you want me to do also, because that decision to stand up and fight this involves you. So it's been a tough road. She said Monday night, you continue to fight. You continue to stand up for the people. That's what you promised them you would do. Put a sign out front, she said, we don't need the airport. And so I stand up for you guys, and I stand up for my family. I stand up for the future of this county. Stay involved. Talk to people about it. And there's a lot of people out there that are against this, but sometimes they don't take the time to do what they need to do. I appreciate y'all. I want you to call me or email me. My email is my name. It's T for Todd Pownell, and that's Pownall, T-Pownell at paulding.gov. You can go to the website of paulding.gov, and you can also find it there. You really need to email me directly. If you want to talk to me, don't email the commissioner's office, because that goes to somebody and they send it out. Sometimes that maybe doesn't happen. And I say that sincerely. And my phone number is the phone that I use for everything: family, personal, real estate. That's my full-time job. And my commissioner job is 678-859-0131. Love to talk to you. I'll come out to your house. I'll meet you somewhere, whatever we need to do. But 678-859-0131. And working together, we can continue to make Paulding County a great place to live. Stand up for what you believe in. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for coming out.
Thanks, Todd. It means a lot to us. Okay, I wanted to answer this question, the hot question of the minute. Who is paying the lawyers and other costs of filing a lawsuit? Well, I'll tell you, I can't comment on that. It's confidential. It's become such a big deal, a big distraction from what's really going on. It's just going to have to wait. But, yeah, I can't even believe the stink that's being made by our officials over this, because that's here nor there. The point is, they've done some things that they're being called on now and challenged on. And you know what? It's about time.
Amen.
Okay, let's give a big round of applause for everybody that worked so hard tonight in Bethany Christian Church for allowing us to use their facility. Please welcome back to the podium Mr. Rick Dunn, pastor of this church.
Thank you all very much. I've heard so many amens tonight, I think I will pass it off. Anyway, if you don't mind, we have 2 services on Sunday that we run, and I'm going to ask you a favor. Since we work with you guys tonight, would you mind, and on your way out tonight, take your chairs. We have a Thanksgiving dinner on Sunday, and those that can help, we would appreciate it. If our people are here, we need to stack these chairs in sets of 8 so that our people have stayed late tonight to put up the tables and get everything ready. And so if you would help with that, we would appreciate it. If you can't lift, you can't do it, that's fine. I know Mr. Todd is outside to meet with you, and we would appreciate that help if you can. Thank you much. Have a great evening.